Hi guys, and I'm Retro Critic here, and today I'm going to review and talk about Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. This game, holy shit. Now, let me just tell you something. I always wanted this game to be made. I always wanted a fucking new Crash game. When I saw, wow, finally, a new Crash game, a new traditional Crash game. Mighty Number Mutant was a piece of shit, and I did not like Crash the Titans. That was disappointing. That game was a fucking piece of shit. I did not like that game, sorry. This was like old school Crash Bandicoot, and this game, this is a game that I always wanted. I'm like, finally, this game is back to the basics, back to the tradition. And let me just tell you something, I fucking always want this game. This game is, holy shit, amazing. I fucking love this game. I always wanted this game to be made. It's just fucking awesome. I literally always wanted this game. I just cannot believe they finally made this fucking game. I was waiting for years for a new Crash Bandicoot, and here I go. Here I have this game, and I'm amazed. I'm blown the fuck away, actually. This game is back to basics. This game is back to tradition. This is old school Crash Bandicoot. This is back to a real Crash Bandicoot game, and I always wanted a real Crash Bandicoot game. Last time when there was a Crash Bandicoot platformer, it was Crash Mighty Number Mutant and Crash the Titans, and those are not Crash games, and they were just different, and they were not really that good, and they were kind of a piece of shit in my opinion. You know what, and I gotta say, this is the game that I always wanted for a long time. I always wanted to play this game. I've been waiting for this new kind of Crash game for a while, and I always wanted to play this Crash game, okay? And this, I actually am happy they actually made this game. They made it, I feel like they made this game way too hard. Even in normal mode, in easy mode, it's still challenging, but I still like it. You cannot complete, you can only pass the main story. You can pass basically a majority, you can complete a majority of this game, but completing 100% is pain in the asshole. Completing 104% is just not easy, and it's hard. That's all I gotta say. Okay, but let's get right into it. So guys, let's go and check out Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time.
So Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time was a game that was released in the year 2021, and it was a game that came out in the PS4, the Xbox One, and even the Switch and many other consoles. And Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time was a game that was developed by Toys for Bob, and it was published by Activision. So Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time was a huge success when it came out in the gaming market, and it did well in sales. And Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time was a big hit at the time. So, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time is a direct sequel to Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. Now, what's really funny here is, and what's really interesting here is that it, ignores the other Crash games after Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. It pretends they didn't exist, and that Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time is a direct sequel to Warped. Now, what's really cool here is, what's really funny here is that it actually acknowledges the other Crash games, but they exist in a different dimension. Because, this game's about, in multi-dimensions, and that's actually kind of funny and cool. That's actually really cool that they do that. They acknowledge the other Crash games that are made, but they're in a different dimension. That's actually kind of a genius idea. That's really a brilliant idea that they use right there. And they say that they exist, but they're in a different dimension universe. Because this game, the story of the game is about where you go to different dimensions, and it's a multiverse kind of game, multiverse kind of story. And that's actually kind of fascinating. They say that the other games exist, but in a different dimension. That's actually kind of fascinating. I just find that to be a really cool and interesting idea that they do that. So, okay, this game's canon. This game's officially canon, part of a different continuity. It's a brand new continuity, but they do acknowledge the other games. It's actually kind of cool that they acknowledge the other games in a unique way, and that's actually kind of interesting how they do that. But still. But this is the latest Crash Bandicoot game, and even though this is the latest Crash Bandicoot game, this one, I was really hyped for this. I was really excited for this, and oh boy, I'm excited for this one. In this game, let me tell you something, and I always wanted this kind of Crash game. I always wanted to play this kind of Crash game. I always wanted this game. I'm serious. And I'm like, does this game delivered for what I wanted? I'm gonna say astoundingly yes. This game delivers of what I wanted. I'm gonna say emphatically yes. This game totally. This is a game that exceeded my expectations, and this game overall is really worthwhile to play. Is extremely worthwhile to play, and I highly recommend this. And I'm really excited to talk about this one. So let's go and let's talk about this game. So the story of the game takes place after Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, and it takes place where you see the villains from the last game defeated, where they're in the last game they were stuck in the time warp, and you see Uka Uka and Trophy and Cortex trying to break out of the time warp, and later Uka Uka eventually opens up the time warp kind of breaks free the time warp and opens the portal back to home, back to their world. And Entropy and Cortex escape, go back to their universe, while leaving Uka Uka behind. Uka Uka gets betrayed, but he gets and later back home, Crash Bandicoot and her sister Coco and Aku are back home, are in their home, and they find the quantum masks, and they use the quantum masks to stop Cortex and Entropy from destroying the multiverse. And then Crash and Coco bump into the all-powerful quantum masks, and they use the quantum masks to fight Entropy and Cortex, and they use the quantum masks to stop Entropy and Cortex from taking over the multiverse. And that's pretty much the story of the game. It's a really fascinating, interesting one. It's a really interesting one here. Now, what's really interesting here is that they are also aided by the help of Dingodile, and a foreign enemy, Dingodile, helps in the game. So one of their arch enemies, Dingodile, actually helps you later in the game, and you get to play him as him once in the game, a couple times in the game. And you also meet a outgoing, adventurous, alternate counterpart of a different dimension of Tana, who's Crash's old girlfriend from a different dimension, like an alternate version of her from a different dimension. You meet her in the game, and you play as her in the game a couple times, and that's pretty cool. And that's interesting what they did to her character here. They gave her more personality, more dimension. I don't know, that's kind of cool and funny, I don't know. It's cool to get to play her a couple times. It's cool that they give her more depth to her character. That's the story of the game. Interesting here, they have to save the world and you gotta use the quantum mask. Crash Coco has to stop Entropy and Cortex from taking over the world. And Crash Cortex has to use the quantum masks to save the world. And that's the story of the game, and the story of the game is really interesting here. Now, on to the gameplay of the game. Now, the gameplay of the game is really interesting here. For example, you get to move the quantum masks in the game. The quantum masks actually give you a different element of gameplay here. And what they do is, when you use the quantum masks, there's like 4 quantum masks, and each time you have a quantum mask with you, switch and play them. And what they do is they alter the levels, they provide means to transfer and overcome obstacles. That's actually kind of interesting. And you get to move them. And what's really interesting here is, now there is 4 quantum masks, and you can actually pick and switch different quantum masks. And each quantum mask that you use, they can like alter the level. They can actually change and alter the levels while you're playing them. So they add a new interesting element of use. So they actually add a new element of use in the game that's really interesting. And they even provide means to transfer the level and the platforming. That's actually kind of fascinating. And to overcome obstacles. You can overcome and change the levels. And that's actually kind of really cool, actually. That's actually kind of fascinating that they do that, because so you can transfer the platform, you can overcome the platforming and obstacles, so you get to move the platforming in different ways, and that's kind of the core platforming here, and you get to even change the platforming here with the quantum masks, and the platforming is really interesting here. You get to move and change and transfer the levels. That's actually kind of cool when you use the quantum masks. So the quantum masks are really actually kind of fascinating here when you move them. And each time you have the quantum masks, they're really cool to use, and they give you different abilities and skills. They're really cool. They give you different abilities and skills. So, and those were the quantum masks, and they were really interesting here. So those were the quantum masks. Quantum masks, they have their own moves. When you move each quantum mask, they have their own abilities and skills. And those are the moves with them, with the quantum masks. They give you each an ability and skills to fight, and that's kind of cool when the quantum masks do that. And those are the quantum masks. Like, it's cool that, each of the quantum masks actually have their own personality, and they have their own, good voice actors. That's kind of cool. I don't know, that's kind of interesting. And so those were the quantum masks, and those are my thoughts on the quantum masks. So now on to another aspect of the gameplay. Now, it's cool that you get to move Dingodile in the game, and you get to move Tana in the game. That's actually kind of cool. So first off, so you get to play Crash and Coco as usual. You get to even switch as them when you play each level, and they have their own level. They have their own levels you get to play, but you can even get to switch them in those levels. But what's really cool here is when you get to play a Dingodile, he has his own levels too. It's really cool he has his own levels. That's actually, that actually made me excited. I thought that was really awesome that he had his own levels. I get to move and play as him. And it's funny where he had his own backstory during the multiverse. Like he had his own restaurant, but his restaurant was destroyed when invaders from the different dimension came in. Like the villain's henchman came in from a different dimension and he destroyed it. That was kind of interesting. And he wants revenge. And he wants payback, And he kind of becomes an anti-hero in the game. And he helps you out. That's actually kind of funny and cool. I don't know if this is the same Dingodile from the old games or this is a different Dingodile from a different dimension. But I don't know. But still. But what's really cool is that his moves are cool. So he's awesome to play. So you get to use your flamethrower here in the game. You play Dangle Doll. That's actually kind of cool. You get to use your weapon to like shoot air and suck at things. That's actually your vacuum shooter, and you get to shoot things with it. That's actually kind of cool. And overall, it's actually really awesome that you're moving Dingle Dow in the first place. And I do like his moves in the game. I do like his gameplay, Dingle Dow. And it's kind of cool that you're moving Dingle Dow in the first place. So I think it's awesome. So those are my thoughts on that. And you also get to move and play as Tana, a adventurous version of her. Now, this game just confirm that this is a different dimension of her, but she has her own levels and it's really cool. Now, the game does confirm that this is a different dimension version of Tana. This is an alternative version of Tana, and I like this Tana. She has her own levels, and I like her moves, and I kind of like this Tana more because she has more personality and depth, and she has a cheerful attitude. Because this Tana is different. She has more cheerful and nice attitude. She just comes off as an older sister to the group, and I don't know, she's just a lot of fun to play. And her moves are kind of fun. Her gameplay moves are kind of good and fun here. I like her own levels, and her levels are pretty nice here. And now on Cortex. Now it's actually in the fifth person you get to move 5 characters. In the fifth person you get to move is Cortex himself. And what's really funny here is that you do move Cortex, but at the same time, when you're moving Crash and Coco, Cortex is in the background trying to destroy them, but it fails miserably, and it kind of helps them accidentally. But you even get to move as Cortex in the exact same level when Crash is moving. So that's actually kind of funny and cool. Get like a different perspective from him. That's actually kind of funny. Crash and Coco. So because even when you're moving Crash and Coco, Cortex is actually in the background trying to destroy and dismantle their plan foils. He tries to destroy them, but his plans fail. What ends up happening is that it actually accidentally helps him. Like it actually accidentally helps Crash in the game and in the levels. And what's really cool here is that, and this happens around the same time when you're moving Crash, so you get to move Cortex from a different perspective. Like this happens literally in the same level. Like this happens at the exact same time when Crash is moving, kind of moving around these levels, and you get to move Cortex at the same time when this is happening. And it's actually kind of cool that you get to move Cortex, but in a different perspective. You get to move Cortex in this game, and I love the laser, the ray gun, Twin Sanity, and it's really awesome. You get to move Cortex. I don't know, it's actually kind of cool. And so I'm getting like Twin Sanity vibes because this is not the first time you get to move Cortex in a game, because it's very similar in Crash Twin Sanity when you get to move Cortex, because it's very similar in Crash Twin Sanity where you get to move Cortex in that game in one level where he shoots his ray gun, but here you actually get to move Cortex again here, and he has his own ray gun. For one thing, it's actually cool you're moving Cortex in the first place, but two, it's actually awesome you get to use his ray gun in the game, because I actually did like his ray. It's actually cool you're using his ray gun in the game, because I actually did like his ray gun in previous games, and get to use his ray gun. That's actually kind of awesome. You get to use his ray gun to shoot enemies. That's actually kind of cool. You can use your ray gun to shoot stuff. And so it's just cool you're using his ray gun in the first place. And Uka's with you, and Uka joins with Cortex again. It's actually kind of cool and awesome. And overall, I think it's really cool here where, like I said, you get to move 5 characters in the game. And Cortex is the 5th character you move in the game. And that's really cool here. So that's actually really cool you move him, and I don't know, that's actually really cool and awesome that you get to move Cortex in the first place. You get to play Cortex in the first place. So that's actually really cool, and that's actually really awesome that you get to move and play Cortex in the first place here. That's actually kind of fun. So those are my thoughts on playing as Cortex in the game, and I did like moving Cortex in the game. Fun. He was a lot of fun. I did like playing as him. He was really fun. So that was really good. He was fun. He was really cool to play. It's really unique, But those are my thoughts on the gameplay of the game. But overall, those are the gameplay and those are the moves of the game. And overall, I just think the gameplay here is really unique here when you play these characters. So they give you a unique perspective in this game. And so those are my thoughts on the gameplay of the game here. So you collect crystals and gems in the game, and you need to collect and get most of the crystals and gems in the game. And if you get most of the gems, you don't have to get all of them, but if you get most of the crystals or some of the most of the crystals, you get to complete 100% of the story of the game, and you get to see the main ending of the game. But if you get most of the crystals and all the crystals and all the gems, you get to complete 101% of the game, and you get to unlock a bonus ending of the game, an after credit scene in the game, another ending, and then you get a bonus ending in the game. So now onto the bosses of the game, and here are the bosses of the game. So I like how you first Dr. Engine in this game, and Dr. Engine is a really cool, fun boss battle in this game. Then you fight Lewis the Fish or Louse the Fish. Then you fight Lewis the Fish, Louse fish, and he's a sea monster that you fight that I like, and he's a sea creature monster that you fight in the game. That's what I like. He's a good boss. This is a pretty good, decent, challenging, fun boss fight. I'll leave it as that. And then you fight Dr. Embryo, and Dr. Embryo is kind of like one of my favorites, really. Yeah, so the Dr. Embryo boss is a really cool boss here. So you fight Dr. Embryo, and he's a really good boss battle here. He's a really fun boss. Yeah, he's a good, challenging, nice, decent boss battle. I do like him in the game, yes. And then you eventually fight Cortex as a boss, and then you eventually defeat Cortex in the game at first. But then later, Entropy appears in the game. He betrays Cortex. Then like Entropy teams up with a female version of Entropy in a different dimension. They both betray Cortex. Then you later fight them as a boss, and they were a challenging boss fight. I think they were one of the hardest boss fights in the game. And as a boss, they were pretty good. But then you eventually beat them. Entropy. Then you eventually beat Entropy. Female Entropy gets defeated and destroyed. And then Entropy get betrayed, and then Entropy gets destroyed, and they get sucked back into their universe, sucked back into their dimension. They get betrayed and destroyed. So that's what happened to them. And then you like a twist out of nowhere. Then you fight Cortex again. Then Cortex comes back up. And I like how he's like the last boss of the game, and he's like the craziest boss of all. I like how he's like the last boss of the game, and he's like the craziest boss of all. So you eventually defeat Cortex. I mean, he's a coward. That's big funny, and he's crazy. You know, he's like just laughable. I don't know. So then you later eventually defeat Cortex in the game, defeat and destroy him in the game, and he's just like, I don't know, like the way he pops up later is kind of silly. And the way he gets meets his demise is kind of laughable in my opinion. But I don't want to spoil the rest. I'll leave it as that. I don't want to give away a lot of it, but you see, if you play the game, you know what I mean. So those are the bosses of the game. My thoughts on the bosses of the game. So the game ends where you defeat Entropy and Cortex. Straight after Cortex and Entropy get defeated and destroyed, Quamask help you, and then the game ends where the multiverse is fixed and everybody else is hanging out, living amongst each other. And the game ends where Quamask fix everything, they help you in the game, and the multiverse is restored, and all the dimensions are restored, and the game and everything's back to normal, and all the characters are just hanging out, living in peace. And there's a bonus ending where you see how all the characters are doing. Like you see like Hana's a lifeguard, Hana just relaxing her vacation. You see our Engine's doing, Dingle Dial's doing, Dingle Dial's restaurant's restored. You see like Dingle Dial having his restaurant back, building back his restaurant. That was kind of nice. And you see Crash and Coco just chilling out and hanging out, and it's just a nice ending. I don't know, just a nice ending. Now there's an extra bonus ending where there's a post-credit scene, and there's a scene where Crash is in the recording booth, and you see like his voice actor talk, and it's where like you see like Crash speak for the first time here, and what he says is actually kind of neat. Like what he says here is actually kind of awesome and funny. It's really good. I don't want to give it away what he says, but when you play the game, you would see what I mean. And trust me, it's actually really good and funny. Like I kind of like the ending where you see like all the Quamasks and Aku, Crash, Coco, and Tana are all hanging out or playing a game. They're like all playing a game. I don't know. That was kind of fun and cool. They're all like playing a Crash game or something. That was kind of fun and cool. I actually kind of like that ending. I do like cliffhanger ending. Spoiler alert, where Cortex is in the time warp. Cortex is in another dimension. He's stuck in there. He stumbles on Uka Uka, and he meets up with Uka Uka again. And it kind of gives you like a cliffhanger right there, and it kind of hints to what's going to happen in the next game. So I kind of like that, and that's kind of a cool idea. So that's kind of really about it, and that was the ending of the game. That's kind of my thoughts on that, and that's really about it, and that's all I got to say. So that was Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. And I actually really did like Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. This game was really fun to play. This was a blast. I always want to play this game. I highly recommend this game. In this game, you do play a lot of mini games in the game. You do play like these small levels, these mini games, these small levels game. They're all right, but I'm not a big fan of them. I don't really like them. They're okay. I'm not really the biggest fan of the mini games or the individual small levels game. I'm not really a big fan of them. Don't like them. They're kind of hard. Don't like them. That's really bad. That's my only problems, really. But in terms of like getting all the crystals and gems, that's like the hardest one ever. This is like the hardest Crash. Now you don't have to get all the crystal gems, but you get most of the past story. But you need a lot if you want to complete the whole. It's like really hard. Now you don't need to get all the crystals and gems past the story. You can just get enough to pass the story. I mean, get it like most of the past story. But you need but if you want to like get all of them, like all the crystals and gems to complete the game or get the bonus level of the game, you need to get all of them. That's really hard. And you can pass, and if you want to get like a bonus, you need to get all of them. I mean, you can still pass the story. I mean, you still pass the story of the game if you get like most of them, most of the crystals. But that's really about it. If you want to get all of them, you have to get like most of the crystals. If you want to get like that bonus ending, you have to collect all the crystals, and that's the problem. And this is like the hardest Crash game I ever played in my life. Like this game is like really hard. I'm not kidding. Like this game is super hard. And this is my only problem is this game is like really hard. And that's my only problem. It's like it's really hard. It's really challenging. I think it's too hard. This game's so challenging. It's the challenging Crash game. It's like this is the hardest. This game is like really hard. Okay, this is like the most challenging Crash game I've ever played in my life. But in overall, and this is like the hardest Crash game I ever played in my life. I'm not kidding. And my only problem with this game is that this game's too challenging. This game's too hard, and that's my only problem with this game. It's too hard. It's too challenging. That's really about it. That's kind of one of my gripes with it, but that's really about it. But overall, in the end of the day, I do like this game. This game was a blast to play. I really had fun with this game. This is the Crash game I always want to play. This is the game that I always want to play. And I highly recommend this game. This game's great. This game's really worthwhile to play. And overall, those are my thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And overall, guys, that was Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And that's really about it. And I highly recommend this game. And this game was really worthwhile to play.
My only problem with this game is, this is actually a hard-ass game. I mean, it's so too challenging. I mean, you can complete, but you're not complete one story. And let me just tell you something. Like, I like this game a lot. It's really good. But like, let me just tell you something. My only problem with this game is, my only negative with this game is that it's too hard. Like, they made this game way too challenging. Even normal mode is too hard. Like, even in normal mode, it's actually way too challenging. Hell, even easy mode is too hard, and that's why I found crazy about this game. Now, I mean, you can barely complete this game. I can barely pass this game. Now, you can actually pass the main story of this game, and now you can actually complete a majority of this game, but that's really about it. I mean, you cannot really complete 100% of this game, actually. Like, I mean, I cannot actually complete 104% of this game. It's actually that hard. Like, that's how challenging this game is. But that's really about it. But overall, this is just a really good, fun game. I fucking love it. I always want to play this game. It's just a breath of fresh air. Like, finally, a true, new, original Crash game. Fucking always want to play this game. Fucking love this game. Fuck yeah. I actually am happy that this game is made. And I actually am really happy that they made this game. And I always want to play this Crash game. And I'm really happy that they made this Crash game. This is just such a really good Crash game. And I actually am happy they made this Crash game. This Crash game is actually a really good original. This is such a really good and original Crash game. I really like it a lot. It's really good. This is a really great one. I highly recommend it. It's really good. Now this game, this game is breath of fresh air. I mean, finally they made an original new Crash game. And guys, I give Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, an 8 out of 10. And I think this game definitely does deserve an 8 out of 10. Now, I really like this game a lot. It's actually such a good game. And those are my thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. Crash Bandicoot 4, those are my thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And that's all I gotta say about this game. That's all I gotta say about Crash Bandicoot 4. And I really do like this game. This is such a good game, and I really like it a lot. And, I mean, this game's new. I like it's a new venture game. This game is such a breath of fresh air. I really like it a lot. It's a really good Crash game. It's original Crash. It's really fun. I mean, this is just a really good, fun game. I really like this game a lot. I really did had a good time with this game, and this game was such a good experience to play overall. I had a blast with this game, and those are my thoughts, and this is why I like Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and this was a really good game. And so guys, those are my thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and so guys, that's all I have to say about Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And I do like Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And this is why I really like this game. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say about this game. So guys, I'm Retro Critic, and I'm out. And I'll see you guys later, and I'll see you guys around. Peace out, and bye.